Hey guys, welcome back to SureFire Live. I'm your host, Mark Stoner, and thanks for joining us again this week for my guest, who I'm excited to have. I'm always excited to have guests, but this week, CSIA President Chuck Roydhouse is going to be joining us, and he also runs a chimney company in Anne Arundel County, Baltimore area. And also we've got Russ Dimmit, who is the Director of Education for the Chimney Safety Institute of America. They're going to both be joining us this week. As you know, this is a live show, and we want you to comment. We want to have a conversation with you guys. So please say hi, please ask questions, and we will have a conversation tonight. So thanks for spending your time with us. I do want to start with an email or a message I got from our friend Bob Fawnin. He logs on about every week, and he's a good friend of the show, but he's a good friend of the industry too. If you're on any of the Facebook forums or anything, he is very active and very positive energy in this industry. And he wrote this. He said, "I thought you'd be happy to know that your Tuesday night SureFire Live has been very helpful for us here at Champs. I purchased a video inspection camera and a complete fireplace starter kit from SnapLock. Plus, I hired Chad as my weekly coach. Looking forward to tonight's episode. So very grateful for all you do for our industry." So thank you, Bob, for that nice comment. So I am going to bring on Chuck Roydhouse. Let me get him up on here. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. I know you're a busy guy. I wanted to just start with, we got a big rally coming up for the Sweep Away Cancer Foundation, and you're on the board. And tell us about the rally that's coming up. And the dates are May 28th and 29th, but why are you involved in it, and what do you do with it?
Well, I got asked, there was three founding fathers, yourself, Darren Bebo, and Tommy Nelms. And as soon as you guys founded the organization, you asked me to join, which was a great honor. And I started out helping you guys with the finances, being your treasurer. And the reason why I wanted to jump on right in the beginning was because this was something that was near and dear to my heart. I'm a retired career firefighter, and I've had about 50 of my coworkers pass away from cancer.
Wow.
The fire service has one of the highest rates of cancer in the United States, and Anne Arundel County is one of the highest in the nation. And it has to do with what we were exposed to, not only on the job, but at the training academy. So that turned into a class action lawsuit. It's still not settled, but a lot of my coworkers have perished just due to cancer.
Wow.
And then it hit home with my family. My mother was a breast cancer survivor. And then my wife and her sister have had breast cancer and uterine cancer. And right now they're both surviving. So anything that I can do to help somebody that's going through this. I was fortunate. I had the resources of, financial wherewithal and insurance to take care of my personal things that went on with my mom and my wife, and fortunately my sister. But there's a lot of people that can't withstand this storm. So that's where Sweep Away Cancer comes in. And what was really started just for our industry as to helping our sweeping industry, because we have a high concentration of cancer, developed to where we're up and running enough now that we're helping people outside of the industry. So it's not just for the fellow sweeps. If it's, your mom, your sister, your cousin, your next door neighbor, the guy around the corner, anybody that needs help, you can go to sweepawaycancer.com. We have an application you can fill out. Very simple questions, very simple information. Everything is confidential. We don't ask anything overly personal. It's basically, who are you? Why are you, nominating this person or nominating yourself? How can we help you? And then that application goes to the board, and then we vote on it. And then you can get different awards based on where you are in the industry. If you're in the industry working, a sweep, an owner, CSR, something like that, we can give you up to $5,000 worth of aid. And the nice thing is I've written checks when I was the treasurer, and I'm now the secretary, for people's mortgages, their medical expenses, ground rent, just things like that, groceries that really help people. And we get really heartfelt notes from people that saying, you just don't understand what it meant to get a
Yeah.
mortgage paid, to get me one more month where I didn't have the wolves at the door. So that's how I got involved and why it was so important to me and why I stay involved, with that charity. And it's a 501(c), so all the donations are 100% tax deductible.
Yeah, it is really heartfelt. It's really amazing when we get these stories where we were able to help somebody and they're so grateful. And again, this isn't our money. This isn't Mark Stoner's money or Chuck Roydhouse's money. This is money from the industry that have donated and bought shirts and supported rallies and gone to events and just really helped us help them. And as we grow, there's a lot more pull on our bank, on our funds. So if you are listening and you can, well, let's talk about the rally because that's a way that even if you can't go, you could support. So talk about the rally.
Sure. So this would have been our third year had we not had the little inconvenient thing called COVID last year. So it's our annual rally sort of almost every year. And we usually do it in May. And it's at the Tail of the Dragon, which is on the North Carolina-Tennessee border at Deals Gap. And we stay at Fontana Village, and it's really fun. It's something like, 113 turns and 12 miles or something like that.
318 turns and 11 miles.
There you go. Even more fun. And anybody that wants to come can come. You can be in the sweeping industry. We have other people that we just know that we talk to that show up, and they'll bring their Harleys. I bring my Corvette. You can bring your Porsche, whatever. If you don't have a sports car, people bring their regular cars and just come. Yeah. Or they'll rent a car nearby, get a convertible Mustang for $100 a day and bring it to the rally. Right. And it's really all about getting together as a group for our industry, and we just have fun. And we'll meet the night before on Friday evening, and we'll have some people doing some talking and telling you about what we're all about. And we're going to have a barbecue, which is sort of like a cookout. And we'll have, great food, great entertainment. There'll be bar there. So if you want to have some adult libations, that'll be available. The next morning we get up and we have an inaugural breakfast. That's all included in the admission price. And we'll have our traditional milk toast. And this was all started by someone that was near and dear to all of us, Ken Robinson, and he used to drink milk. And he used to drink milk as a toast when Mark used to go with him on different things that they did as just a small group of people. Mm-hmm. So Mark wanted to carry that over to kind of honor him. So that's something we've done, and he was the first one that we dedicated our rally to. Yeah. And then we'll run the event, and that'll usually go until about 3 or so in the afternoon. We'll have lunch somewhere along the way, and that's all included. And at the end of the day, usually people go back to their room, they'll get cleaned up, maybe take a nap, and around 5 or 6, we'll all meet again, and we'll all sit at a big table and have dinner and just have a lot of fun, talking, telling stories, swapping lies, and really getting along with each other. And it's just so much fun.
It really is. I really look forward to this, and we've got about 50 people right now signed up, a little less than that right now for this group, and that's going to be about 25 vehicles. So that's a good group, but we always want more. Also, we're having a special shirt made that our friend Gavin Good, who's an artist, and a lot of people know him in the industry, designed a logo for us. It's a guy on a motorcycle leaning, and there's a big tail coming off the back like a dragon. It says 129, which is the highway, and we're going to have a shirt, and it will have that logo on it, and also the special sponsors that help sponsor that shirt. So as your idea, Chuck, you said, hey, let's put that available on the site for sale. If you can't attend but would like to buy those and support the cause, they are going to be available. I see. This is funny. Alan Rush says, why is Darren Bebo kicking y'all's butts in Ice Water Challenge Sweep Away Cancer Sponsorship Challenge? Well, I also, we set up a contest where whoever donates the most, or whoever gets the most donated under their name wins, gets dunked in ice. So I'm having all my donations donated under Darren's name. But talk about that real quick, and then we'll bring Russ up. Can you talk about the Ice Water Challenge?
Yeah. So basically what's going to happen at our board meeting, which is coming up next week, and Plainfield at our tech center. One of the things that the staff came up to do to raise funds for Sweep Away Cancer, because the staff at CSIA is a big supporter of Sweep Away Cancer, and they do something every year for us. They came up with kind of an ice bucket challenge. And basically, they put up the board members' names and for the executive board, and you can go to sweepawaycancer.com and you can donate to this. And whoever gets the most, as Mark just said, basically gets dumped. So we have the executive director, we have Mark, we have myself, we have Tommy Nelms and John Caesar and Darren Bebo. And I think all of us figured out right away that we need to get Darren dunked. So we're kind of pushing in his direction.
Well, Darren is also an amazing fundraiser for this thing. When Darren goes out and he puts his mind behind something, he has done dinners for Sweep Away Cancer. He has gotten big donations for this, and Darren is a huge asset to this board and an amazing fundraiser. So thank you, Chuck. I'm gonna put Chuck backstage for a minute, and we're gonna bring Chuck back on at the end or in the middle of the show and talk more about what CSI is doing and the homecoming that's upcoming for us. So thank you, Chuck. We'll talk to you in a few minutes.
All righty.
So the next person we're going to bring up is Russ Dimmit, who is the executive director for the Chimney Safety Institute of America. I've known Russ for a very long time, and I want to bring him on. I want him to talk about. I'll bring him on right now. Hey, Russ.
Hey.
Hey,
buddy. Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. I know you're on the road teaching and training. Your heart is in. You're the heart of a teacher, and so we are so fortunate to have you in this industry. So, you know, some people may not know who you are. So, Russ, tell people who's Russ Dimmit.
Well, I've been in the industry now actually 32 years. So I've been around a long time. I know I look 80 and did start till I was in my late 40s, but been in the industry for 32 years. The first 29 years, almost 30 years in the industry, I worked for one of the major distributors. I did a lot of stuff for them. I'm sure none of you ever talked to me, but my first role there was actually accounts receivable, calling people and saying, "Hey, could you give me a little cash here?
Need some of that money.
You want a little product? I want a little money." So that's actually how I started.
Really?
I don't know have I ever told you the story, Mark, how I ended up in technical and sales for Copperfield?
No, not at all.
What happened? Some of you might remember when John Meredith first rolled out Chimney Saver product. Mm-hmm. So I kind of grabbed onto that because, as you know, it can be a fairly high profit item.
Right.
So it was a great product. We had an exclusive on it at the time. So when I'd call somebody, I'd go, "Hey, you know what? I need some money. Can't ship any product." And they'd say, "Well, you know, I don't have any money." I said, "Well, okay, let me make you a deal." I said, "We got this new product. And what I would like to do is I'll let you buy a bucket of it if you promise that you'll give me the profits to apply to your account."
Really?
Yeah, that's how I got. So I started doing that. And one day the financial officer came to me and says, "Hey, Sooty Bob wants to see you in his office." So I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?" Because I thought, you don't just get called up to Bob's office for no reason whatsoever.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, I thought, what have I done? I'm in trouble. So I sat down and Bob said, he said, "I've always wanted a sales team." And he said, "I understand. I heard what you're doing with Chimney Saver product." And he said, "I kind of like that." He said, would you like to be my first salesperson ever?" I said, "Well, gee, Bob, I don't know." I said, "I kind of need a job." I said, "What would happen if this didn't work out?" He said, "You'd have to find another job." I said, "Okay, well, let me think about it overnight." So I came back the next morning and said, "Yeah, I'll try it." So I started doing sales for Copperfield and doing that stuff. Well, the first fall came, and nobody wants to talk to a salesperson. You don't have time to talk to somebody in September, October, November, December. So it's like, I say, now what am I going to do for 4 months? So I say, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you train to be a technical person?" And the technical training at that time, 30 plus years ago, was not what we've got now. The resources just weren't there. So I started reading the catalog and started going to trade shows, and something just clicked. I love the technology. I love the science of it, understanding why something works, why something doesn't work. And gradually started doing more things. And next thing you know, I'm doing full-time tech. And then next thing I know, I'm teaching.
Wow.
I'm still greatly humbled by that. I can't believe that anybody would actually listen to me talk, but they do. It's amazing. So I did a lot of teaching for that company. And then a few years ago, Mark actually made a call to me and said, would you be interested in being our director of education? I was greatly humbled by that. Gave it some thought. We did some talking, and next thing you know, I'm working for the Chimney Safety Institute of America. And got to tell you, I'm loving every minute. I'm loving every single minute of it.
You were our first choice. We had to look around and find someone, and you were number one on the list, and we are super happy that you accepted and said yes. So thank you for doing that.
Well, I tell you what, thank you for offering it. I'm tremendously humbled and very happy to have taken that position.
Yeah, you're great. Well, tell us about, I've even seen it on Facebook this week where people are like, hey, what's the difference in one certification or another? And without talking about other certifications, let's just talk about what the CSIA certified chimney sweep badge means, because it's not just something that somebody created and now we've got a manual and a test. This goes through a lot of rigor, and this goes through a lot of process to come up with the standard of care in the industry. And so, I just put this up here. What makes a CSI credential different than others? And I know intimately what it goes through, and I would like you to go through those steps, because I think this will be very enlightening for people.
Okay, so it's been several years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago now. The realization was that the successful chimney sweeping manual, the industry had evolved. It had changed a lot since that manual was written. So the CSIA did some research, and they hired a company that basically are psychometricians. Now, what a psychometrician is somebody who specializes in testing industrial things, the thought process for writing exams. It's very detailed. I never had any idea till I started in that process what's involved in writing an exam. So the first step in getting a new manual is there was a survey sent out. What are the critical things that somebody needs to do to be successful in this trade, technically speaking? So that survey was sent to the whole industry. Those answers came in, they were compiled, and then they were ranked. Basically, okay, what's the most important thing a chimney technician has to know? What's the second most important thing? And those things were all put together as a big stack of surveys, and all those were melded into one report that said, okay, this is how we rank the things in the industry, the things that should be most important for a credential holder to know. So those were given to the folks that wrote the manual, and those folks said, okay, these are the things we need to put in the manual, and they started writing the manual. That was a fairly long process to write a new manual. Arduous might be one word to put it. I know some other folks were involved in that, editing, proofing, looking at it. That was a pretty extensive process. So once that manual was written,
it was very, very long.
It was years in length. I just caught the tail end of it. But yeah, it was quite a process. So once that manual was written, it went through all kinds of revisions, all kinds of groups. There were a lot of subject matter experts who were brought into that process to review it. It then went to legal, and CSI used a lawyer who was extremely familiar with our industry, has been represented a lot of folks in this industry and in the hearth industry, so very familiar with the things we deal with on a daily basis. That went through legal review, and I'm happy to say that it came through with flying colors. We got great reviews from that.
Didn't also, it was edited by a manual editor, and you might have been getting ready to say that, but I remember when it was edited, the guy who had edited a lot of fire manuals and other things like fire industry manuals, he said it was one of the best manuals he'd ever looked at before editing.
That's true. We sent it to some folks for graphic design and somebody who does manuals full time, and his feedback was, wow, this is so much better than what I normally receive. Yeah. He said, I basically have nothing to do from the editing standpoint other than lay this thing out.
Yeah, to be clear, if people weren't aware of it, there was probably, two main writers of the manual, and then a lot of editors, and then also a lot of groups going, I mean, line for line, word for word, and one of the things that we had to be sure of in the manual writing process is that we don't hurt the chimney sweeps either, right? Some of the details that you put in, you've got to be careful so that it's not used against the industry while we're trying to make the industry better. That was a real challenge.
That was a real challenge because anything you put in that manual, you don't know at what point that may be pulled up as evidence in a court of law
Right.
or used in a lawsuit. So we had to be very careful that we wrote the manual in such a way that we didn't paint anybody in a corner.
Right, because we know this manual will be used in court. It is the standard of care in the industry. When you write a manual and we write a manual, they this thing is used as a weapon sometimes too if they come in. So that's why people really need to know their what's in the manual. So when you practice your chimney sweeping job, you follow the manual because the lawyers will bring that up and line number, chapter, whatever. Why are you not doing this? And so
Yes.
It's very important that we make a standard, but we also don't make it too hard for chimney sweeps to do their job.
Right. Yeah. We could have put some things in there that could have been used against people, and we did not want that to happen. And that was one of the advantages of using somebody who's very familiar with our industry and has litigated a lot of different cases over the years related to our industry, is they knew where some of those traps were.
Yeah, for sure.
They knew some things that we shouldn't say, or some things we should definitely say. And he was actually very complimentary too, because when we wrote the thing, I sent it off to him, and I got a call back that said, you know what, that initial estimate I gave of time and budget aren't correct.
Yeah.
So you can about imagine my heart just sunk. He said, actually, it's much better than I anticipated.
Oh, okay.
He said, I can do this in a lot shorter period of time.
Oh, that's good. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So talk about our, CSI's relationship with NFI, because I know there's a lot of back and forth with the two organizations. And can you talk about that relationship and kind of why we work with each other?
I can. They follow very much the same process we do as far as using subject matter experts, use psychometricians. And they're also the only other organization I'm aware of that's a nonprofit that does what we do. We've got a very close relationship. I've worked with them a lot in my prior life. I've been on their board of governors. I spent 6 years on there. So we've developed a lot of commonalities, talk with them on a regular basis. So it's been a while now, probably a year plus ago. There was a conversation that was started. Well, just a little background. NFI always had fuel-specific tests. And I was involved in some of that initial test writing and things. And one of the questions that always came up is, we have a 100-question test, and there's some of those questions that it doesn't matter if you're testing for wood, gas, pellet, whatever the case is, some of the knowledge is the same, and it's on all three tests. So as an NFI board, the discussion was held, is there a better way to do our testing? So what happened is they developed what they call a core test. And I actually was fortunate enough to be involved in that process. But all the questions that were common, things such as clearance of combustibles, combustion theory, things like that, basically were all put on one test. So if you're taking the NFI test, you have to pass the core, and then you pass a fuel-specific test. So the core test, we had about a year plus ago, we started having some conversations that were along the lines of, are there a lot of commonalities between the chimney sweep test and the NFI core exam? Because obviously they deal a lot more in the specifics of gas and installation. The NFI test is really installation focused, where the CSI test is more service focused. So the process was, okay, so let's look at these two tests. So a group of people were convened to look at, okay, here's what the NFI core exam is. Here's what the CSI exam is. And are there some commonalities? Is there even any sense in furthering this conversation? So that group sat, looked through it, and said, you know what, there are a lot of commonalities here. So let's pursue it the next step. So CSI and NFI partnered to bring the psychometricians in because we didn't want to do anything to damage the product that we both had. One of the things that's very important for CSIA is that we want to maintain a high level of integrity in our test. And by using the psychometricians, we guarantee that. It wasn't just a bunch of guys sat down in a room and wrote a test.
No.
It was not. and we kind of skipped over that, so I might hit that a little bit, Mark, what goes into writing the test.
Yeah, please do.
I'll kind of take a detour here from the core CSI conversation. So once that manual was written, then a test had to be written based on the new Chimney and Venting Essentials manual. So what happened is there was a group convened of subject matter experts. Mark participated in that process, and some other folks on the CSI board. So I assigned the folks on the subject matter expert committee. I said, okay, you take 2 chapters and I want 20 questions out of those 2 chapters. Now, we did that based on the initial job analysis that was done and said, okay, this is the most important thing. So these are the things we want questions on. So we went through that process, and that was a fairly lengthy process. Then we all had an in-person meeting, and there was, I think, 6 or 7 of us, I forget exactly, that met in a room. It was a 2-day meeting, and we had the psychometrician there. And we had a lot of questions, way more than we ever need for an exam. And as a question writer, you wrote the question and then the 4 possible or 5 possible answers. And just a little side note, to a psychometrician, those aren't questions. Those are called stims. And the potential answers are called distractors.
Yeah.
So they don't even use the terms questions and answers. They use stims and distractors. So we sat down as a group, and everybody would read their question and say, okay, I wrote this, and these are the possible answers. And you had to have a little bit of a thick skin, because it was a situation where we said, well, that's a stupid question, or that wasn't written properly. Or did you ever think about, okay, this is the answer that you say is correct, but what about this other distractor you have? Couldn't that be correct in these circumstances?
Right.
So we whittled it down, reworded questions, changed answers, and that was a full day process. I don't remember the exact number we had, but it was probably around 300 questions, maybe more.
I think it was 300. Yeah.
Yeah. So once that process was completed, then we came back the second day and looked at the importance of each one. And we used 2 things to come up with that importance. One, what we as a group felt the importance was, and also we used the job analysis. What did the general industry think were the most important things? So each of those questions then received a ranking. Everybody would rank it where they thought it was. And then we would average it. So it was a 1 to 4 scale. And the questions would come in, okay, that one's a 3.7, that's a 2.3. So we arrived at that. Then we went through a second time in the questions and ranked how many folks think, how many people do you think should be able to answer that question if they're truly qualified to do this kind of work? So then we achieved a number, and that number was actually used to determine the pass score on the exams. This group of subject matter experts arrived at that number too, and amazingly, it came out right at 80%.
Well, and to that point, on the questions that we were talking about, the test is also adjustable. So part of it was the test gets put out in real world, and then you kind of see how questions are either passed too easily or failed too often, and the test adjusts to what's needed, right?
Right, it does. And what we did is we put out 3 tests, and the test actually level of difficulty came out almost identical.
Yeah.
Which I was real happy to have that happen. Now, some of the most important questions are on all 3 tests.
Right.
Because there are things that you absolutely have to know to do this work. And then the other things are important. There's nothing on those tests that didn't rank pretty high on the importance scale.
Yeah.
At least a 3 out of 4.
They were all up there by the time we got done with it. So just to be clear, audience listening, watching, this is please comment, please ask Russ questions. I know there's a lot of stuff that goes back and forth on Facebook, and there's a lot of questions about how things are. So we've got Russ here. So if you have questions, I want this to be interactive. So please ask.
Absolutely.
And maybe
Absolutely.
like I got a little like adult beverage. Maybe you need an adult beverage and open
Loosen
up
you
a
up a
little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah, loosen you up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
But what we do is we didn't even really know for sure what our final passing score was going to be till we had at least 100 people take the test.
Right.
So we had 100 people take the test to look at it and say, okay. And we do, to Mark's point, look at each individual question. You know, if 98% of the people are getting one question right, we have to say, is that really a good question? Is it too easy? And on the flip side, if 10% are getting a question right, well, is that a good question? Is it knowledge we have to cover? So do we need to reword it or?
Right. It could be a good question, just worded tricky or worded in a confusing way.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're still going to keep the integrity of the test so that we get the answers and people know the subject. But sometimes, you know, people will say it's too tricky or the answers were too close to each other. And they're supposed to be kind of close to each other, right? A couple of them are supposed to be kind of close to each other. So you really have to understand the answer to be able to discern between the two.
Right. What we want to do is every answer should be a plausible answer for somebody that's not on the top of their game.
Right.
Is what we try and do. So we don't have any questions, and we made a special effort not to do any trickery. We want the questions to be clear, straightforward. And we want the answers to be clear and straightforward. And there can only be one right answer. So that was some of the conversations we had when we were putting the test together. Is one of the subject matter experts say, well, you say this is the correct answer, but did you ever consider in this specific circumstance, this other one might be the correct answer?
And that's tough because there's a lot of ways to get to answers. And, you know, in our industry, we say you want it to be black and white, not gray. Well, not everything can be that way, especially in the chimney industry where there's so many variables from state to state, from you know, different entities, from, you know, different masons, from all kinds of things. So it was a very enlightening process. So talk about why. So recently, the CSIA and NFI got together where the CSIA certified sweep automatically qualifies for the NFI core. Right. Why? And you started to hit on that, but go ahead and cover.
Yeah, I kind of circled back because I'm pretty proud of the way we came up with that exam.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So what happened? We had the conversations. Is there enough similarity between the NFI core and the CSI sweep test credential to even consider this? So a group met and said, yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. So there was a group of subject matter experts who were put together, and this process took about 6 months. We announced in January that NFI would allow the CSI cert and the credential to take the place of core. So if you have the CSI credential, you don't have to take the core anymore. You can go just take the test. The fuel specific thing, be it gas, wood, pellet, whatever the case may be. So what happened is we convened another group of subject matter experts once we decided, hey, this might be plausible. And that subject matter expert group took about 6 months. And it was right during the heart of the fall. So guys did do a lot of sacrifice, a lot of evening work, weekend work to make it happen in the time frame. But we looked at every single question, both on the NFI core and on the CSI certification. And we said, these are the things that, because NFI had done very much the same process that CSI had done with job analysis. So we looked at the NFI job analysis and said, okay, is this specific skill or this specific knowledge base present on the CSI certification test? So that's how we went about it. It was about a 6-month process. Every single question and meetings and things like that.
I think it also adds value to the whole process that we're on the same page, we're on the similar levels, although we have different end goals and different, like you said, great, one of them kind of focuses on installation and different fuels, and ours is more on the inspection and maintenance side of it.
Right.
But they still very much work together, and that was a great thing. To thank you for working on that to get that together and add value to the credential holders, the CSI credential holders, that it bleeds over and helps them as well. Well, so that's about our time. Anything else that we need to know going on at the CSIA Tech Center?
You know what? There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm actually, like Mark said, on the road right now. We started doing these 4-day events this year, which we're really excited about. They've been really, really well attended. Like today, we did a review for the exam, and tomorrow we're going to do a chimney science, and then there's a 2-day masonry class that Chris Pryor and Tim Smith are going to do later this week. We're actually getting pretty far along in this. I think we've done 6 or 7 out of the 9 we had scheduled. So what we're doing is we're taking it out to your local area. Right. Some of you may have seen some Facebook posts this week. Some folks wondered about taking the academy on the road. And that's something we're thinking about. A lot of companies have built their own training center. And some of them have offered the opportunity for CSI to come in and utilize their training center. We'll never be able to duplicate the training center we have in Indianapolis. It's too cool. I mean, unless you've been there, we have built some really amazing training structures there. And are still building it. We got one under construction right now. We'll never replace that, but we are talking about coming out and doing something out in the field. We want to take the education to you. We've done a lot of things with online now, so you don't have to come to Indianapolis. Never think you got to come to Indianapolis to get your CEUs. There are tons and tons of opportunities out there at trade shows with different organizations we're affiliated with online. So never ever, and we do a virtual class once in a while. So there's a lot of opportunities out there to get your CEUs.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all you've done for our industry. You've been a true asset to our whole industry for many, many years, from collecting the money to selling the stuff to teaching it. So sure is a pleasure to have you on. And stay around. I'm going to have Chuck on. We'll see if we have questions again. Not getting too many questions tonight. I would love to have questions for you guys. And so feel free to type away, guys. I'm going to bring Chuck Roydhouse. Thank you, Russ.
Yep.
Hey, Chuck, welcome back.
Hey, thanks. That was very enlightening with listening to Russ.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I had forgotten how much we put into it. I mean, I started off with this kind of doing a white paper for you.
Yeah.
And telling you where the difficulties were and what we needed to do. And then you created a position, and then we started the manual, and we worked together on it side by side. And it was like 6 years long to get it to where it is.
Yeah. And we were working hard. I mean, there was definitely sticking points where we ran up into a wall and we're like, okay, we got to wait on this or wait on that. But I'm proud of it. I think everybody that worked on it is proud of it. The teachers, the guys who are instructing it say it's a great manual. Whenever you change the industry and whenever you get ready to, because the successful sweeping, that was the Bible. And we're going to get in and kind of rewrite it and update it. Well, that can be dangerous. That can make a lot of people mad. That can change a lot of things. And we were very cognizant of how much weight that carried. And so it took a long time to get it right. And I feel like we did.
Oh, yeah. And the coolest thing was where you and I had talked many times about what blowback would we get. Yeah. And, an insurrection. We didn't get it. Everything that I've heard and Russ has heard, and I know what, feedback that you've been given, it's all positive, and that's like more than a home run. That's like the World Series and the Super Bowl rolled into one. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought there would be a lot of naysayers because people don't like change,
Right.
and we didn't have that. So, yeah, not patting ourselves on the back, but everybody that was involved, we did an excellent job and put our heart and soul in it.
Yeah, it really was. We were prepared. Whenever you change anything, you're prepared for a firefight sometimes, and it really didn't come. And that is really a testament to everybody across the board, from the very beginning, trying to figure things out, all the way to the completed project, and the teaching of it was really well done. So thank you for that. So talk about. You had an idea of having a CSI Homecoming, and talk about what are you talking about on the Homecoming?
Well, the idea hit me one day, and I was thinking, you know what, with everything that's been going on for, the last year and a half with pandemic and, virtual training, which is good, but you can only get so much out of it. There's really a need and a thirst for us to come together because when we get together as an industry, we're very unique. I've been involved in a lot of different industries, that are brotherhoods and things like that, and we're very tight knit. And that being in the fire service, which is my background, my entire life, I grew up in it and I worked in it for 25 years. And we are brothers, very similar to the military, but the chimney industry has a lot of commonality with that. The thing that's so unique is that we have a bunch of people that you would think would be competition that come together from across the United States and even from outside our country. And you act like you're cousins, and we're getting along great, and we share information. And I have not seen that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Even, in the military or the fire service, there's still enough of a competitive edge that there's a lot of things we might have your back when, the chips are down. But when you're looking to get promoted or you're used to taking over command of something, it's every dog for himself and it's a fight. And that's not the way it is in the chimney industry. I say it all the time. We are a true family, and I believe that. And that's one of the things that why I think I've stuck around this industry so long is it's a lot of fun and the people are so nice. So I thought, you know what, it's time for us to get our act together. Let's have a homecoming. We have a fabulous tech center, as Russ was talking about. If you haven't been there in a couple of years, you have no idea the changes that we've made.
It's changed a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, between the add-ons with, we built the prior training structure, and, that has a masonry chimney, and that was going to be the chimney from hell, with had a lot of defects, and you would need to find it. And there's only over 100 in there, and we use it not only for our National Training Academy, but we use it for the different chimney science, chimney physics, other classes that go out there. It's really been a useful tool. And then we had the idea of, this is great, but let's add on to it. So this past summer, we added on what was going to be a factory built fireplace change out station. And then we have a gas fireplace unit that you can work on, installing chase covers. And then we made it and designed it so the roof could be used for a small roof and rope access training platform to use. So it's really a multifunctional building. And then in the last 3 or 4 months, we've done a whole rehab of our building inside and out. So not only has it been cleaned and painted and the parking lot taken care of, we've just reorganized everything there. And I mean, our staff is just chugging right along, and they've really done yeoman's work getting this stuff squared away. So it's kind of like we as a board have a dream of where we want to go and where the industry needs to head. And we have a professional staff that, goes by our direction, and they make it happen for us, and they just knock it out of the park constantly. So yeah. I think when you get out there next week, you're going to get your socks knocked off, because I was there 2 weeks ago and I couldn't believe it. It didn't look like the same place that we were at a year ago. So the idea with the homecoming is let's all get together. And registration is open now for it. You can go to CSIA.org and register. And basically, it's going to be a homecoming event that's going to focus on fellowship, fun, and fulfillment. And we want it to be a low-cost thing for somebody to come to our tech center. We're going to have a convention center connected to it at the Embassy Suites, which we're going to have room blocks for at $159 a night. You can register and lock in for that right now. It's $299 to register for the 3 days. Who can come? Anybody can come. You don't have to be certified. The neat thing is, if you're going to bring a travel mate, maybe your wife, your spouse is going to come with you, and they don't want to do the day activities. Maybe they want to go shopping, look at the local events going on, whatever that might be. There's a great zoo in Indianapolis. They can buy a $69 ticket to take care of all the nighttime activities. So during the day, if you're in the hands-on classes, the technical classes, or the business classes that we're going to offer, the other person can travel around, go to the Indianapolis 500, see the Speedway, whatever it is they want to do. But at night, when we have our events, which we know we have 3 nights events going on. So we're going to have a backyard barbecue going on. It's going to be called the Backyard Bash. And that's going to be the opening night. We're going to have food, music, and games. The second night is going to be Thursday night, and we're going to do our auction. And CSIA's theme for that is CSIA Goes the 80s. And then the third night is going to be wrapping everything up with the banquet and the awards. And we're going to have a theme called Racing into the Future, because that's where CSIA is heading. We are always like a juggernaut moving to the future. I'm not going to be stagnant. Our board is not going to be stagnant. And CSIA is not going to be stagnant. So we're always looking for the next opportunity, because we truly believe in our motto that CSIA is the standard of excellence in the chimney and venting industry. And we believe that to our core. So you come to the tech center, you have business training, you have technical training, and you have hands-on training. So it's going to be something for everybody. So you're going to have 2 tracks.
What were the dates again for that? You told me, and I needed to get it typed in here.
Yeah, that's okay. So it's going to be in August, and it's going to be the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th, which is a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
18th through the 20th.
Yes.
If for some reason I typed that in, it did not stay. Here we go. 18th through the 20th of August. I had to type it quickly, which I'm not good at. So, so they can sign up. You're still putting together some of the events and some of the courses, correct? And that's still, are you still calling for different people that want to teach,
yes.
Or is that closed out?
So no, not at all. So we try to be as open as we can be as an organization, and we are still looking for anybody who is looking to teach or speak. And if they want to do that, they can contact Penny. Her email address is pseals@csia.org, or you can call the tech center. She's there every day from 8:30 to 5. And if you have something you want to speak about, something you'd like to teach about, we'd love to hear it. We have a framework of what we're going to do. As I just said, it will definitely be hands-on, it will be technical, and we will definitely have business training. So anybody who wants to come, whether it's your CSRs or whether it's, somebody that actually works on the truck, somebody that's looking to get certified, we're going to have a review and a certification test going on. So if we do that in the beginning, any class you go to afterwards, you'll count for the CEUs. And the great thing, every course will have CEUs attached to them, and you can get up to 24 by coming those 3 days.
Fantastic.
So it's huge value.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome. So what else is going on over there? Any other news that we need to make sure we cover on this broadcast?
Well, again, like I say, I don't like to sit still. I don't like to be complacent, because, if you're not moving, you're going to get eaten. And we're always working on different things. So the one thing that we're really excited about is in August, we're going to have our first class for the factory built swap out and the gas training system that we have. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be really, really cool to actually get people to come there and go through. And then, as Russ touched on, one of the big things that, myself and our board pushed this year is, we knew we needed to get training out there. We needed to bring it to you. And Mark came up with the idea when he was president a few years ago about this roadshow concept. And we've done it, and we've done it fairly successful. And this year, I really wanted to make it to the forefront that we're going to do a lot. And as Russ said, we came up with 9 or 10 different events throughout the continental United States. So we're not just in the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. We were just in California a couple of weeks ago. And the concept of what we wanted to do was have these 2, 3, or 4 day events where they would always start out with a review and a certification test. So if you sent your guys and you needed to get certified, the first day you take care of that. If you pass, you stay for the next 2 or 3 days, and all of those class CEUs count to your recertification.
Right.
So it's one convenient time to send your guys to one location and get things knocked out. And to me, that seemed to be a winner.
They, and again, we heard that from people. They said, "Hey, you guys need to get out there. You need to get out there more." And we were, for the last several years, focused on the manual. Quite honestly,
Right.
we were really focused on getting that done. We spent a lot of our resources on it. We spent a lot of our time, resources on it. Most of us are volunteers, and we focused on that. We got that done, and now we turned it on to virtual training. We got the SureFire does a lot of the live virtuals. You can take it online, and then you guys got out there on the road, and even coming to my shop and all around doing the business training and the technical training, and it's really being well received. And maybe I'll bring in Russ. We'll have a three talker here. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
So tell us how it is out there on the road. What are you seeing? Is there any aha moments of people that you're like, now that I'm out here, is there anything like that going on for you?
Well, it's interesting that now we're in people's backyards. Like Chuck said, we've been all over the country. We were in California recently. We're going to be in Oregon, so we've got that West Coast thing covered. I'm in Arkansas today. We've done them all up and down the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast. We're getting everywhere. So we're bringing it to your backyard, and we've got a variety. These 4-day events are not all the same. They all start off with the review, but after that, it could be anything. We've done a lot of chimney science classes. We've done this new class, the diagnosis and documentation I can't even say the name, it's so long. Chimney diagnosis to reduce liability, increase profits. That's a 2-day class. We've done that. We do the 2-day masonry. Chris Pryor does these 2-day masonry, and I got to tell you, I feel like a mental midget when I talk to that man. He knows more about masonry. He can take the most complex topics and make them simple.
He knows everything, and we know. I mean,
Yeah,
Well,
it's amazing.
So, when you go to MIT, that kind of like says something.
When he talks, it doesn't matter if he's telling you a joke or if he's telling you masonry or engineering. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's just such a gift and a fantastic, humble, smart guy. And he's helped us so much at CSIA with the prior. I mean, he was hurt, and he designed that. He had a foot operation. He designed that whole prior structure and everything while he was laid up, because he's such a working, busy guy. And then to come to see it in fruition and people actually build, there's a huge amount of volunteers that really stepped up and helped make that thing real. It's an amazing feat, I think, at the Tech Center.
Yeah, it truly is. And I challenged Chris. I said, there is no way that you can build a chimney as crappy as you're designing this thing. I said, it's just, you cannot do it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Well, one of the things you touched on, Mark, is that sometimes people forget, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, is that we are volunteers. So yes, we have a professional staff at our worldwide headquarters in Plainfield. However, they're there to make sure that everything runs. You have to have the infrastructure to run this organization, but everything else that goes on as far as planning, concept, and a lot of the work gets done by volunteers. So, sometimes we get criticized because it takes us a while to do things. Well, we're all working full time. I mean, Mark and myself, so both of us have chimney businesses. We both volunteer for the board. We both have consulting businesses. He's with SureFire, and he has Blue Collar Gold. I have Roydhouse Effect, and then you have a life, with maybe, kids and a wife, and, you got to find time to drive our Corvettes. And, so there's only so many hours in a day. So we are a 501(c), and that means we are a nonprofit. So we don't get paid or compensated for anything that we do. If anything, it costs us a lot of money. We do it because we're passionate about our industry and our trade and our craft. And that's really why we do it. We're all givers.
when you really get to know the people on the board, really get to know them personally, they are very giving at heart. They are we do want education to be at the forefront. We want this industry to grow and get bigger and get better and get smarter, be better, smarter business people too, and smarter inspectors and smarter, just gifts to the community. And so I wanted to probably not close out, but Russ, when you're out there, what I've noticed is there's a lot that the industry seems to be getting a little bit younger, I think.
It is. And that's something we need to happen. Some of us are getting a little bit of a gray beard going on, white in my case.
Yeah.
Some of you knew me in my early days. This beard was red.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
Not
that.
anymore. So yeah, the industry's getting younger. I think we're seeing a transition.
We are.
I think I started in the industry 30 plus years ago. We were still in the infancy. I think we're in late adolescence now.
Yeah.
Chuck talked about being a family. Sometimes we spit at each other and fight just like family, but we still hug when we're done.
Yeah.
And move forward. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of younger guys out there. I'm very appreciative of that. And the other thing that we can bring to these young guys is some of us have been around a while, remember some things we used to do, and that was the industry standard. Now we're just like would bare our head in our hands if we saw somebody doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So knowledge has evolved so much.
Especially safety, right?
Safety is huge.
And Chuck, that's been your big thing, is safety was going to be your big, push as president. And what you just said, Russ, is so right. We look back on pictures just a few years ago and you're like, oh, why did I wasn't being safe. And now it's switched so much, which is a real testament to the messaging that has been coming out from us and you, Chuck, and you, Russ, and Jim Brewer and several others that are about safety. That's definitely different than it used to be, right?
It is. In fact, right now, if you attend the academy in Indianapolis, you go home with a climbing helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, we get you used there. If we step outside the classroom, go out to the prior structure or go out in the lab, everybody puts on their helmet, including the instructors. Safety is our middle name. Chuck kind of coined that phrase, and that's absolutely correct.
Yeah. And the climbing helmet is our new top hat, and that is a stonerism.
Well, I was listening to Brian Barnhill, and you were there with me, Chuck, and Brian was talking about, some safety issues, and Brian was very safety forward with his business. And I was listening to him going, wow, he's so right. And then that's when I said, you know what, the climbing helmet is the new top hat, and that's just how it has to be. And because we get asked all the time, where's your top hat? And now it's the climbing helmet, and it has to be that way. I mean, there's so many terrible situations. We're in a dangerous job all the time, and and I said it a couple of weeks ago on the show that we tell customers all the time how dangerous they're being by letting their fireplace not be, fixed or restored. Yet we let our employees be unsafe, and we can't be hypocrites as business owners, and even as solo entrepreneurs. You've got to be safe, and it makes you look more professional. And I think that's just been such a big eye-opening experience for us.
Well, there's a bigger picture to this too. So basically, the cabal that I came up with is sort of like boiling a frog. How do you cook a frog? You turn the heat up slowly. So the idea with this safety kind of dovetails with the idea of our business training. So one of the things that I saw when I got into the industry, and around 1990 was there's a lot of guys that are older that either don't know how to run their business and they're not going to have anything when it's time to hang up their top hat, or they're not being safe and they're going to be crippled or worse. So the idea was, if we push the safety, we push the business training, then we're going to give you the ability that when the time comes to, hang up your saddle, as it were, hopefully you have something that, you've saved, whether you have something to sell, whether you're able to make enough money to make investments, whatever your path is to get to that retirement. I would like you to also make it to your retirement because you worked in a safe manner. So
Yeah.
we kind of came up with the slogan that everybody goes home healthy at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
that's what we want at CSIA. And at the same time, at the end of your career, we'd like you to be able to retire in some type of comfort and be able to enjoy it, not be all crippled up that even if you can afford to enjoy it, you can't get out of your lazy boy.
Yeah, I mean that's so true. And it's neat to see this business grow up. I've been in the business 35 years, and when I look back, it was very different than it is now. And seeing some of these younger guys grow these businesses, training people, they're very serious about education, very serious about training, and very serious about safety. It's really exciting to be able to pass the baton on to this next crew of guys who have grown up and taking the steps, but they're making it better. And I'm really excited about where our industry is growing. I want to say something really quick. Luke Curley made a great point. He said, if you go, this is talking about the homecoming. If you go, you get all 24 required CEUs from CSI for recertification. You can get the other 24 from elsewhere if you want. And
Yes.
yeah, great point, Lou. Thank you for bringing that up. That's so true. Trying to make it very affordable, trying to put a lot of things together. But that being said, we're making education so fluid. It was locked up. It was harder to get it, and now it's really literally a click of a button or in trying to be very close to you, and you don't have to travel to India. Although the tech center is the best thing in the business. And just to close out on that, not to close out, but basically to say that what does make us different is we've had probably, I think, I don't know what our certification numbers are up to, but are they in the 11,000s now, Russ? If you get a number, is it like 11,000?
It's a big number. I don't know exactly what that number is, Mark, and I don't want to misstate it, but yeah, it's a big number.
So, that's not current certified people, but that's how many people have been certified through CSIA. And that's a lot of education out there. That's a lot of knowledge out there that has come through, got the certification. And we're still at some of the highest numbers we've ever had being certified currently. Because I've had a lot of guys come through, I get them certified and then they don't work for me anymore. And that was a certified person. But every time I've invested in education in my business, even if I lose a guy, for the time he was with us, for the time that we learned that, we got a little bit better. Even if you lose a guy, some guys say, I don't want to invest in education because I'll lose him. And there's a lot of sayings about that. But while they are educated, they bring your bar up. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses understand. You invest in education and you can sleep better at night, you make more money, people feel more knowledgeable, and you grow a better name in the area. And so that being said, what else? We're about out of time. We're a little bit over. I think I've answered all the questions. Any closing things from either of you guys?
I would just say that I thank everyone who supports CSIA. I'm very grateful for that. We're a great organization. We've been doing this for 4 decades. The best is yet to come, and we're just going to keep moving forward for you. Again, business training, it's coming up in mid-June at the Tech Center is going to be our next symposium. So if you have a thirst for that, go to CSIA.org and it'll tell you everything you need to know about what the training classes are going to be. You need to run your business, whether you're a one-man guy or a one-man guy and a helper, or you have 50 trucks. It doesn't matter. It's all the same game. You have to be profitable and you have to be safe.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What about you, Russ? We'll close this out.
That's a lot of pressure, Mark. No, I mean, we're moving forward. There's been mention of the board puts ideas out there and staff makes them work. I got to tell you, I couldn't work with a better group of people. They're just a great group of people, get stuff done. And we're moving forward between the board's ideas and ideas we come up with as staff. Hey, what about this? We're getting better every day. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that, hey, you don't have to be 100% better today, but if you're 1% better every day, in 100 days, you're way better than 100%. I forget the exact number, but somewhere around the 78th, the 83rd day, you're 100% better. Just get a little better every day.
That's great. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna say bye to you, and I'll close out the show. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having
Thank
me,
you for the
Mark.
opportunity.
Oh, so good. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about, the CSI and the people behind it, the people that are running it. Russ on a day-to-day basis, Chuck on a volunteer president basis, and we had Tommy Nelms last week. He's next up to be president, and we're super excited about his leadership abilities. And I think he's watching, and he's an exciting guy. When he gets pumped up, he's an amazing guy to be around. So, guys, please, to close out, Sweepway Cancer one more time. I'm going to beat that drum. Please go to sweepwaycancer.com, make a donation, buy a shirt, join us in the rally, help us give to people that are not as fortunate or have gone through a super hard time, and we love helping people. All right, guys, join us next week, SureFire Live, 6 o'clock next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern. Talk to you soon.